This video is the restoration of a 1962 NSU Quickly. I was going to leave it with the original patina on it, but I've decided against it. I just think it's a bit too rusty. I might do that with some other one later, but this one I'm going to clean it off and restore it. Now that's the main frame. I've just finished cleaning it off, so I must put some Q-rust on it now to stop it from rusting, and that'll do for today. Now I've just applied the Hammerite Q-rust is what I use, and it turns a kind of a blue colour first, and then it changes to black as it dries. Just trying to make sure that I have every bit of it covered. I'll turn it upside down now and get the underneath of it once that section is dry. Now it's after turning completely black. Still not fully dry, so I'll leave painting it until tomorrow. It's getting late in the evening now for painting. Temperature is dropping. These are the mudguards off of the bike and the carrier, so there was an awful lot of rust on them, so too much patina altogether, so I've decided to clean everything off and completely restore it. Now I've got I had it undercoated, and I've just put on the coat, finish coat there, light grey. And over there I have one of the mudguards half done. I must do the inside of it, so I'll crack on with them now. The main frame now has been drying for 2 days, and I'm just after putting the plate marker back on, which is on the stock there where the swing arm goes on. The frame number is also stamped in the frame just above it. I have the front mudguard with the Q-rust on it now. I'm going to undercoat it next, and the rear chain guard, I have that done as well, so I'm going to undercoat them now before they get painted later on today. I'm working on the Mudcat Stairs at the moment. I've just put the Q-rust on that one. I have another one there to do, so that's what it's like before I start. And I have 2 more of them done there. The Q-rust is drying. This is the saddle that I'm using now for the 1962 NSU Quickly. Needs quite a bit of restoration. I must take it apart. It's all damaged and unusable. I've got quite a lot of the parts for the 1960 Quickly painted now. They've been sitting for about a week or more. I haven't everything done, but I have quite a lot of it done, so these are the parts here. Number plates, number plate holder, different things, and I'm just putting the stickers on the petrol tank at the present time. So the badge is on and the Quickly writing, so I must just put on Quickly on the other side here now, and I must put NSU on the back mudguard. I must do the numbers on the number plates as well, and that's the seat that I completely restored, and just a soft cushioning to go there, and more than likely probably this crimson cover is going to go on it, but we'll see when I have most of it put together whether I'll put the crimson, cream or grey one on. I've done the light, I have the spring there for it. The mudguard sections there to hold the mudguards in place. The mudguards themselves. Swing arm. It's completely done. And the main section itself. And the nameplate is on it as well. Now I'm just attaching the Quickly to the tank, and I'm rubbing it as much as I can to get it to adhere to the tank. There was a white backing on the thing, you have to take it off and make sure that these letters stay stuck to this see-through section. So hopefully when I pull that off now, the see-through section, that the letters will actually stay. I have to pull it off slowly just in case anything is not 100% stuck. That's it. Turned out perfect. Just give it a slight rub to make sure it's okay. So that's that. I'll do this one on the back mudguard a bit later. That's the mudguard there, but I have to check where exactly the number plate is going to be sitting on the mudguard so that this goes actually above the light then. I've attached the NSU symbol on the rear mudguard there now, and the measurement for it is roughly 275 millimeters to the bottom of it, because the rear light is going to be situated here, so it has to be above that 27.5 centimeters or 275 millimeters. I'm now attaching the number plate bracket with 4x10 stainless steel nuts, washers and spring washers. So I'll carry on with that now. Yes, I'm continuing here now, and I got sick of cleaning off rust off of items, so I said to myself I needed to start seeing a bit of progress on putting the bike back together. So what I've done there now is I've actually put in one of the suspensions there at the bottom, and I have the piece here for putting in the other one. There should be a spring there somewhere as well. That is there. So what you do is put the spring in first, like so, and there's a little space up there at the top that it sits into. Then you take this unit, and it has to go in at the back here where the big holes are, like so, and this section sits into the hole in the spring. So you've got to put it in there without that falling off. Like so. So now we've got to get a bolt through it, which is this one. And this bolt goes from the outside in, like so. I'll have to do it now. That goes through that and out the other side, and in some cases the mudguards attach on here, so I'm not going to put any nut on there at the moment. Now I have that bolt in there, and I must now put the little rubber suspension on here with its bolt that goes through. The way to install this here is there's a little rubber cushion on the lower section of it, and a bolt goes through the top section to hold it in place, but to get it on you've got to push down on the spring on the front. But it's difficult if I had somebody with me, I could show it better. Now that's it gone through there with the bolt going through it. It doesn't matter which way you turn the bolt around, inside or outside, it doesn't matter. Now I'm actually going to put on the swing arm and I'm going to attach it to the frame itself. And these are all the component parts here, which are on the book somewhere there. The top nut, the finishing nut, the locking washer, that's the unit that holds the handlebars, which is there. Then there's a circular washer underneath, which is there. Then there's a nut which goes on. Then there's a cover plate that goes over the top ball bearings, and that's the top ball bearing race. So I've got to put on grease here now and 21 ball bearings, and the ball bearings are held in place by that cup there. Now I've attached the 21 5mm ball bearings to the bottom section, which will go up through that, and I've attached the 21 5mm ball bearings up on top as well. Now I have to work quickly. I'll be putting on this top race, the cover plate and the lock nut so that all the ball bearings won't fall out. So that's the next time you'll see it. Now that's the swing arm in place, and it's held down with it's a 36mm nut. I have a box spanner that I use for it to tighten it, so I'll just tighten it up like that, and that's it, as far as there anyway. It's working perfectly. Now the next thing to put on is this circular washer that goes on there, like so. And then the mechanism for holding the handlebars and the light goes on next, like so. Then the lock washer goes on there. There's a little section on it there that goes down into that hole. And finally the lock nut. But I've got to attach two 8mm bolts there now onto that to hold it in place, and also to stop any movement here that the ball bearings could actually fall out. So I'll take them off for a second and I'll put them on in a minute. Now the two bolts that I required there, number 45 are 8x18, and I must put washers on them, spring washers inside and nuts. So I don't have 8x18s, I have 8x25s. I'm using stainless steel, so I've put on two of those, and I must put on the spring washers now inside, like so, and then put a nut on it and tighten it up. Easier with two hands. Now that's those two 8x18 bolts is what you're supposed to use. Right, this is the lock washer going on, and then this is the final finishing nut at the top. I think it's 32mm in diameter. My box spanner is specifically used for this, for Quickly's. It's a 32 and a 36, so this is the 32 at this side. So I need to put a bar in there now and just tighten it down. So that's it for the moment. I'll tighten that now a bit better. To install number 9, which is a little rubber plug. This is it. There's one on each side. Number 9 is a rubber plug, and they're them. So they go into that hole there. One there, and there's another hole there. So I'll put them in there now. They're difficult to put in. Now that's one of the little grommets there, rubber grommets in place. The other one is at the other side. And the purpose of them is that when the swing arm goes back like so, it has something to bang off of. As you can see, they do tend to wear out quickly enough, but when they're not there, if you're banging the swing arm off of that, you do tend to bend it slightly. Next thing I'm going to attach is the front mudguard, and it has a hole there, and in actual fact I was looking at the book, and number 16 is a bolt. It can be M6 by 12 or M6 by 15, so that's what I've got, an M6 by 15, and it goes up through that threaded section there where the toolbox cover goes on. So I'll put that on next now. Now that's the bolt in place, the M6 by 15, and I put a washer on it, and I put a shake-proof washer on it as well. So the next thing to do now is to put on the Mudcat Stairs. One goes on there, one goes on there. Now that rear section of the front mudguard is a short one, the stay is quite short. I'm going to attach it now with 4mm stainless steel nuts, bolts and spring washers. The front one then is a bit longer. This is the one here, and that attaches there to that, like so. It's just a bit of manoeuvring to get the holes lined up, and that will be that done then. Now I have the two mudguards in place. I must put on the two nuts there yet, but I must clean them off. They're a bit on the rusty side and paint them. There's an unusual thread on those things, and I need the nuts that I have here don't actually fit on, so I'm going to have to reuse the ones that came. Now the front mudguard is the same as the other one, 4 by approximately 10mm, 8 to 10mm. I had only 20mm, so I'm going to cut them off with the angle grinder. And down here then it says on the book to put in 6 by number 18 and 19, I think it was number, yeah, 6 by 8. I've actually used 6 by 10 with a washer and a spring washer to make sure that they don't actually come back out. So that's the front mudguard now in place. I think I'll put on the rear mudguard on now. The rear mudguard, and I put on the taillight yesterday, so I'll actually be putting on the wiring loom when I have that on as well. It's one of the best times to put on the wiring loom, when you have the mudguards on before the wheels. I put on the taillight yesterday, so now, and the NSU sticker and the number plate, so it's now ready to go on to the frame, and then I'll be able to put the wiring harness on and bring the wire out to the rear taillight. Putting on the rear mudguard, you have to install it with number 28. Number 28 is M6 by 16 bolts, and then inside spring washers and M6 nuts at the other side, which is inside here. So this is the this section here doesn't look great, so they invented this piece to cover it that goes on there, and it's bolted through the mudguard. Now that's the cover plastic in place there as well. 6x16 bolts. I use those lock nuts internally altogether, ever easier. Next thing now is the rear mudguards and then the carrier. I have the rear mudguards there. Again, I've used M4 nuts and bolts. Mine are 20mm long. I'm just going to cut them off. They're meant to be about, I think about 10mm is long enough for them, maybe 12, so that they don't get caught in the wheel. And if you'll notice the mudguard that I've put on this one, there's a hole here. This hole is for the chain cover. This is the chain cover. The chain cover goes on there like that. It's attached to it, a 10mm by 8mm bolt there, and a bolt goes through there and in through that hole there. But I need to put on the other stays, Mudcat stays first, before I can do that. This is the chain guard at the rear, and I'm just looking for the size of the bolts. Number 30, they're 6x10, and number 29, spring washers, so there's 2 spring washers to be put in as well. Yeah, so that's it. I've just put the M6x10 to hold the chain guard there in place. This is the best time to do that, put the chain guard on, because it can be very difficult afterwards. Now that's the rear mudguard in place again with the 4mm bolts, and it goes on like so. And if you see here at this side, there are tabs. They must match up with these tabs here because they're for the wires. The wire must come across at that side and out into the taillight. Now the carrier is the next item to put on, and it's attached with number 2, which is a 6x12 spring washers and a nut, and that goes down through that hole there and that there, and this is the way it goes. The air pump goes at the back. Like so. There's a maze of things coming together here now that will be going into one hole with I think it's a 6x30 approximately, but if it's too long I'll cut it off. This is the seat now that I've restored, and I'm going to attach it to the bike. So I just need to loosen the nuts there now on the side to drop it down a bit so that it's not too high up, and fix it in place. Now that's the seat in place, tightened up, and that's the progress up to date. I'll probably put on the handlebars next, and I must put on the wiring loom as well. I'm not doing the top of the seat yet because I'm not sure what colour seat cover to put on it. I'm just going to install the toolbox. I have the knuckle screw already put into it and the Quickly emblem, so I'm going to attach it onto where it goes now, like so, and We just have to screw that into this hole here. That's it in place there now with the nozzle screw screwed in. This opening section here is for the lock, but in this case the lock isn't working because it's very hard to drill them out, so I don't bother fixing the locks. I'm installing a set of cords on each side. They clip in there into the mudguard like so. And in the early bikes up to 1955 there was normally only 2 holes, so you would only be using one, but in the later models you have 1, 2, there's 4 holes, so you have 2 sets of cords each side. That's the sets of cords in place there now, and there's a special hook down here that they go around, and the same at the other side. In this part of the frame here goes the air filter, and it's a wet air filter. It's a little mesh, circular mesh thing, and you have to steep it in oil, and that's why it's referred to as a wet air filter. So that goes in there like so, and there's a little rubber cover that goes over it, and there's a lip there as you can see, and there's a lip on the little rubber cover, so I'll put on that next. In this section here is a wet air filter. I've just put it in there, and you have to steep it in oil. I've just steeped it in oil. That's why it's called a wet air filter, to retain particles, any particles of dust that will get in there, and that's covered then with a rubber cover. It has grooves on it there that hook over the grooves on that there. It's difficult to get it on, but with a bit of ingenuity one gets it on. That's it in place now, hooked over the little rim that's on the thing so it won't fall off. That's the little rubber cover on the air filter there now. It's finished. Now I've just put down the speedo cable there because I have to put the other cables down through that tube that goes down the frame, the clutch and things. So there's actually a hole, you can't see it, but there's a hole approximately here inside in the frame, so you put it down that hole. There's another hole at the other side, but it's not as big, so it has to go down in the I think in the early bikes, if there was a speedo, it was at the other side. I'm not 100% sure about that, but anyway, I just brought it down there. The hole is big enough for this collet to go down, so that's it. It's just in place anyway, just for the time being. I'm after putting on the 2 rubbers there that go underneath the petrol tank, just sitting there in position at the moment. I have the tank strap which goes on here. There's a hole down and there's a small little pin that goes through. Like so, and that holds it in place. So I have the tank here. I'm after putting the petcock onto it. It's better to put the petcock on and ensure that this section is outside, otherwise if we were trying to put that on afterwards it would be getting caught on the frame, so on the outside. I was attempting there now to put on the tank, and I just realised that there's a few things that you need to do before you put the tank on. Now it doesn't stop the situation that you'll have to take the tank off again, which I've had to do before, but these are what they call the tank rubbers. There's 2 of them that sit underneath the tank to cushion it against the frame, and sits on that section of it there. So the throttle at the other side, which will be here coming down, normally it comes down under the petrol tank, so I have put on the cable here and I ran it down, and I've just left it roughly the right length, because when the petrol tank is tightened down on this it can be hard to move it, but we'll see how it goes. I've also this isn't always on quickly. It was on this one and I left it, and there's another section of it comes out at the end. I don't know if it's fully length or not, but I've put in the clutch and gear change cable, which is where they were originally, down through that, and they're coming out at the bottom there. So I'll be able to pull them down further when I'll take it off at the stand. So to keep the rubbers in place, I put on this piece of tape around it, and I can rip it off afterwards when the tank is on. So I'm just going to put another bit of tape around this one to keep it in place, and then I'm going to put the tank on. The tank is fixed then with a bolt here. I'll show that in a second, and the bolt comes up through here and it tightens the tank down. This is the tank strap and the rubber. Now I've attached the tank on there, sitting on the rubbers. I need to tighten it down a bit more, it's still a bit wobbly, but it's a 5mm bolt. This one has a hexagon head on it, and there's a shake-proof washer there, and then there's this little bolt mechanism that was on it. So you just tighten that down, and basically one will know when to stop. Also, I said earlier that the petcock has to be put on before you put on the tank, otherwise it will be very difficult to get it on, because the width here is wider than the space there. So put on the petcock before you put the tank on. So now you can see the throttle cable coming down there underneath as well. They're all just sitting loose at the moment now, all the cables. That'll be going up there like so. Right. On normal NSU Quicklys, there's a symbol that actually goes here at the front of the bike, but in Ireland you're required to have a number plate here, so there's two holes here, and these are the brackets, and that's the number plate to go into the brackets. So I must put on these two brackets now with 6 by 10, I think will be okay, because they actually screw up through it, and I'll just check to make sure, but I might have to cut them slightly. I'm just about to put on the handlebars here now, and the handlebar brackets go on. They're attached like that, and then the lamp holder goes on the outside of it. That's the handlebars in place now. It's an M8 by 45mm bolt. Mine were 50, so I had to put an extra nut in there, because you have to put 2 dome nuts on the end. So the brackets sit on this bracket, and then the lamp housing, or it's a bracket really for the lamp housing, and that sits on the outside of it. This is the lamp holder. I've just put the speedo cable up through that hole there, and it's attached with an 8 by 10mm bolt, which comes out there, and it has to be short because it would get caught on the speedo. So I'll just put in that bolt now and lock it in position. That's the lamp in position there now. Speedo coming up through it. Now these are the 2 wheels I'm using for this Quickly, and I'm going to put new spokes, so I'm cutting off the hubs to retain the wheel itself, the rim, and we'll set new spokes into it then. Now I'm after taking off the rim from the oh dear, I can't think of it. I've taken off the hub off of the wheel and the spokes. I'm waiting on new spokes, so I'm just about to clean the rim. It's not in bad condition, it's very good actually, and I have the rear wheel then ready to cut the spokes off and do the hub first and then do the rim itself. This is the rear wheel rim, and I have just put one coat of paint on it, and that's the front rim, the hub there, and I've painted it so it's drying. And this is the rear wheel. I have ground off all the rust and I've put on the Q rust on it and waited for it to dry now to undercoat it. So that's it. The spokes have arrived. There are two different size spokes. There. I'm just after respoking the rear wheel there now, and I had another one which is a bit rusty. I used it as a pattern to do this one, so I have to tighten them all up now. At the moment it's just shaking about, so I just have to tighten them all up and get it balanced and all that sort of thing. Now I'm starting the front wheel there, and again I'm going to follow the pattern that's on this wheel. So you have to start where the hole for the air section is, the air hole, and I'm going to take this spoke here and I'm going to put it on this one here, which is the first spoke beyond the hole. So to do that, it's on one of these holes, not on one of the wide holes. And when you're doing spokes, and particularly on these Quicklies, it's every 4. So when this one is on, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that's the next one, which is the next one along, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 for the next one again, and then the same with the other ones. Now what I'm doing at the moment is I'm putting on the upper ones. Hopefully that will work, that I shouldn't put on the bottom ones, but I think if I put on the bottom ones first and the top ones afterwards, sorry, I'm putting on the top ones first and then the ones underneath, so I'll see how it goes. So now I've put on the upper spokes, and they're actually the short ones. There are short spokes and there are long spokes, and the reason for the long spokes is because this diameter of this thing here is shorter, so the spokes have to be longer. So I've done them all at 4-hole intervals all around. As again, I've started at where the valve goes in, and then I checked that there was a hole here. There's another one at the other side there, and I've lined up that hole there with the bottom of my thing there, and I've taken the spoke from there to the first hole and the spoke from there to the first hole. So now I'm going to put on, they're the top ones, the next ones are underneath them, so they're actually going to be going into all these holes here. And we'll just look at the first one. So that's our spoke there. So if we put in the spoke there, it goes across over there. Now I'd prefer to try and work with a spoke that actually starts down here, which is the second spoke here, and it goes in there, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and it goes into the second hole. So we'll count 9 from the hole. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's going to be the spoke, and it's going to go into this hole here, which is the second one from the hole there. So I'll just do that now first. I'll have to lift it up to get the spoke to fall through. So I've put on that one there now and put it into the second hole there. So the next one then should go 4 above that, 4 holes. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've actually installed it. Right, so the next one will go in there now, and it'll go 1, 2, 3, and it'll go in there. So basically splitting all of these here into the middle, like so. They're all split in the middle there. Now I have the front section of it done there, so I've now turned it over with the valve hole down there again and the valve hole here. So now I have to determine where either the first spoke or the second spoke here goes to up here. So the first spoke here goes up to there. So I have to try and determine. So these are the long spokes now. They're longer than the other ones. They're 263 or 265 mil long. So the first one is on the bottom, so I'll do the bottom ones this time first. Did I do the other? Yeah, I'll do the bottom ones first. So this is it here. I've got to ascertain where it is in relation to. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 4 marks over. By putting this up straight there, it touches that there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. So I'll take the hole here and I'll put that up there like so. So that's the first one, second one, third one, so it's the fourth one here. So it's going to be going down into that there. Now I have to widen these ever so slightly because these new spokes are just ever so slightly bigger than the previous ones. They're the same gauge, but they're just ever so slightly bigger. So I'll put that on now once I have that sorted. Now, so I'm bringing the spoke down through that there. I'll have to lift the wheel up now to get it to free itself up a bit. And once it frees up, as you can see, I've brought it down in a section where there's nothing to restrict it. So when I'll get it free from there now, I'll put it in there. It's the first hole at this side. So I'll put the rest of them on now. Each one of those, this one here, this one here, this one here, here. So this one, and then from this one here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it'll be going into this hole here. That one goes in there. The next one goes in 1, 2, 3, 4 over there. So I'll do that all the ways around now, every 4. So now I'm going to start the ones that are on the upper side. They're crossing over the other ones, so they have to be pushed up from underneath. Now I want to start with the one nearest to here, so which is this one. So I'm again going to put my spoke like so, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So the fourth one up. So we put a spoke here and we go 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be this one there. So it's got to come up from underneath. It's got to come up like so. So I have to lift the wheel up to do that. So now I've got it coming up from underneath. Turn it over and into the second hole. second hole beyond the thing, and put on the nipple onto it just to hold it in place. So again, the next one, which is going to be here, will be 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are all the holes that are left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way around. Now that's the front wheel all laced up, so what I have to do now is tighten all these up, and then after that we have to go on through the wheel to make sure that it runs straight. I'm not going to do a video on that because I'm not an expert on it. I'm not an expert on spoking either, but I'm just doing this myself, and I'll make up a bit of a throwing stand myself just to get them as straight as I can get them. You can buy throwing machines that are very accurate with gauges and all sorts of things, but you'd want to be doing it professionally to be using equipment like that. So I'm going to tighten them up now, and as I say, get them throughed, put on the tubes and tires and put them onto the bike, and then I must get onto the engine to get it running and install the cables and stuff like that, and the bike is pretty much finished at that stage. So that's it for the moment. Now I've got the rear wheel done, tire and tube on, and I have the front wheel already put on, so I'm just going to put this one on now. So that's the front wheel that I put on yesterday after finishing the spokes and the tire and tube. And now I'm going to put on the rear wheel onto the back here. I must just figure out where everything goes before I put it on. Now I took the Quickly off of the stand, and I was doing 1 or 2 little bits and I forgot to video them, so I'll just update the situation. I had the wheels on when I took it off. I've added the engine since. I've connected up the petcock to the carburetor. I'm working on the seat at the moment, putting the studs on it to hold it in place. I put on the rear brake, and I put on the exhaust pipe. I've connected up the cables as well, the front brake and the clutch and the gear change. So all I have to do then is put on the pedals. Now I tried starting the engine on the table, but it wouldn't start for me. It might have been the petrol was stale. So I'm going to get some new petrol and see if I can get it running. If not, I'll have to take it to a mechanic just to get the timing and stuff correct on it. So that's it at the moment. It's nearly finished. Just putting on the throttle mechanism there. I think it's fairly tight. I'm after greasing up that area there so that it twists. And I'm going to put on the gear change on the other side there now next. Now I'm just after installing the the gear change, and I have the front brake on as well, and it's working. I'm after installing the speedo and the light and the switch. I must just put on the dimmer switch on the outside. I've put on the grips. So that's the progress at the moment. The next thing I think I'll do is put the saddle cover on. The engine is ready. I must just go and test it and try and get it going. So we'll do the seat cover next. Now I'm just after putting the cover on the seat there. And these bifurcated rivets, they're difficult bloody things to deal with. That's one, and you have to prise the two prongs of it apart, and to do that you have to try and make up some sort of a tool, which I did with an old screwdriver. You have to kind of I used the straight screwdriver section there, and I just you know, it works a bit. It could probably do with being much wider, but in any event they're on and they're holding it in place. A difficult little job to do. Now it's time to put it on the bike here, so I'll put it on there now. Now I've just put on the pedals. On that side as well. So now I think I have the seat attached. I think I've only got the wiring to do now next. But I must find the wire in there. I did a pile of work there and I forgot to pull out the wire which is in under the engine here. It's coming down through the frame and heading to the back wheel, so I have to deal with that next, and then I can put on the cover here and I can try and start it up. So that's it. Now I've just installed the horn there on it. The dimmer switch I've put on as well. What else did I do? I just put this here on the petrol tank to stop any spills happening. And I've put on the side cover here. Side cover here. So the bike is now finished. And I've just started it, and it's running, but it's running a bit on the fast side, so I'll have to get somebody to have a look at it just to see if the timing is correct and stuff like that on it. So that's it. It's finished and complete. 1962 NSU Quickly N with 26-inch wheels.